How do you maximize performance with your sales force? My name is Anthony Garcia, and I'm the host of the Catapulting Commissions podcast. Join me every week as we discuss topics such as performance or improving retention, and we do so by interviewing some of the top sales professionals and entrepreneurs around the world. Now, let's enjoy the show. Catapulting Commissions family, welcome back. Today is a special day. And the reason I tell you a special day, when we started this show in the beginning of 2020, the message was we were going to find sales professionals and entrepreneurs from around the world that had excelled in their craft and bring them on the Catapulting Commission show. Today, my guest comes all the way from Adelaide, Australia. She is going to be the first international guest on the Catapulting Commission show. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Marie Tremby. She has been a successful multi-site bakery franchisee. She and her husband, Kim, have been together for over 30 years, raising their two sons. And as the case for many people in the world, life is always hectic, and overwhelm was a part of each and every day. Marie then went in a search for discovery, not only for herself, but for those ahead and following to find the skills necessary for retrieving the time and balance previously in place that she so desperately wanted again. Not only did she find time and energy to accomplish what she needed and wanted to do, she found success in both her personal and professional life. Most importantly, she discovered a path to happiness. Her new goal is now to share this message with the world. We brought Marie from Adelaide, Australia to share that message with the Catapulting Commissions. She is now the international best-selling author of the book Simple, Soulful, and Successful. And we are going to piggyback that message today and learn how to apply it to us as sales professionals and sales entrepreneurs around the world. Marie, welcome to the Catapulting Commission show.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you, Anthony. Very excited to be here.
Marie, the pleasure is all mine to have you on this show. So let's jump into this, Marie. Simple, Soulful, Successful. It's an international best-selling book, and it's available right now on Amazon. What was the premise behind starting that book or writing that project? And what can listeners expect to hear from that book or read that book, should I say?
Great question, Anthony. So the book sort of came to me over about 20 years ago, really. I started thinking about putting together this book. We went into business with one franchise 25 years ago, and then we started our family, and then we purchased 20 years ago, we purchased our second business. And I was always overwhelmed. I always had so much to do, and had this anxious. I was achieving everything, like we were doing everything with our family, and the business was running well. We were seeing increases weekly, and everything was going well. But it was this feeling, this anxious feeling that I lived with for most of the 20 years of, like, how can we do it all? How can we fit it all in? So I started taking notes because I wanted to help people not have that feeling, how see how people could go through it all and feel balanced. So that's what I started to do. I started taking notes, and I listened to all the great speakers that I could. I read many books. I attended conferences. I just went on this big learning curve, whilst going through all the anxiety at the same time. And it was all being compiled to put this book in place one day to help those that were going to be at the same journey as me, those before me, and hopefully help those after it. So I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. I think you bring up a really good point there, Marie, that this hecticness that comes with being an entrepreneur, being a mom, having a family. I mean, we're pulled in so many different directions, and sometimes the overwhelm responsibilities of life sometimes give us areas that we have shortcomings in, whether they are actual shortcomings or perceived shortcomings. I think that's a challenge that many salespeople face because there are sales entrepreneurs that are listening to the show right now and I know this because I know some of my listeners that are completely engaged in their business, but have a family at home and they get completely overwhelm, right? There's a lot of challenges that come with being an entrepreneur, and in one of the areas in your book, right, you're talking about learning business balance and rituals, and there's a lot of these mistakes that entrepreneurs make. What are some of the mistakes you discuss in your book, and how do people avoid those mistakes as a entrepreneur that has multiple responsibilities?
So some of the mistakes that, well, most of the mistakes people do is they live out of balance. They either spend too much time at home, and so their business fails, or they spend too much time in their business, so they're not giving their family the time that they want. So they're always feeling out of balance, and that that's really what I try to help people is how we can have it all, everything that we want to do as well as everything that we have to do, and find a healthy balance. So I teach that the mistakes, I teach that by making people list out and really discover, write down everything it is that they have to do, and and then I make them list out everything that they want to do, and then we put it together so they can actually see it and physically have a picture in front of them of where their life is in balance and where it isn't in balance, and then they can work towards putting more things in their family life if that's where it's lacking, and putting more things in business if that's where it's lacking, or taking things out to make it, so that they can feel that they're level, and also that they're getting to do the things that they want to do. um, you know, like for me, one of those things was writing my book. It was a passion for so many years, but I wasn't, we all have the same amount of time in our days, Anthony, but it's how we train our brain and what we focus on that makes all the difference to what we get through. So when you can actually do that, focus on what you've got to do and what's on your plate, and you can see it all in front of you, when you plan it, it's going to happen. It's when you don't focus on it and you don't plan, and it's just sitting there thinking, I'm not getting to do this. I haven't got enough time to fit this into my schedule. Where we do have enough time, we just have to plan it. So that's the mistake. Yes.
No, I like what you said there. It's a serious mistake, and as you were discussing that, as we go through the show, I definitely write tons of notes, and I'm writing down here, what do I have to do, and what do I want to do, and if I can apply that to both, I have not unfortunately, but unfortunately, I have multiple businesses where I fall into the have to, want to, but then I have family. I have two 11-year-old girls that if they want me in the pool in the middle of the day. It's pretty much summer here in the States. They don't have that. They don't have a care about what needs to happen in the business. They don't care that I have to create content, or I have to manage a team. And so I find sometimes for myself, Marie, that my balance gets out of sync. And when my balance gets out of sync, I get so down on myself to the point where it's like, okay, I get frustrated where I'm like, I'm out of sync. And and I don't want to say I kick the dog, but I mean I kick the wall. I'm like, and it bugs me. So when somebody gets out of sync like that, and a lot of entrepreneurs and sales professionals are type A. They have a structured regimen. They want to achieve a level of success, but when they get out of sync, it quickly becomes a spiral. And I know for me, and I'm probably sharing my shortcomings on here on the show, but I know for me, I sometimes spiral down. How do we prevent that from happening when we do get out of sync or get out of balance? We know how to get there, and now we're out of it. What would you recommend for us to get back in sync or in balance?
Yeah, excellent. I like that question because it happens to me. So I really have found this place of ultimate happiness and balance. But in saying that, I still go through all the emotions and the anxiety that, I've got this that has to be done at work. So I know what you're saying, like the out of balance. So what you do is at that time when you're noticing it, you take a moment. Like what I do is I take a moment to do a meditation, first of all, to clear my mind, or I'll go for a walk around the block, or I'll get my mind to where it's a bit clear, which sometimes you think, oh, I don't have time to do that. But when you do that, you actually do have time. For some reason, it's this magical thing that gives you more time when you actually can clear your focus by a simple meditation or a mass, anything that makes you feel good, a breathing technique or something. If you do that, and then I come back to my list and like have a look, okay, so when you have it all in front of you, it can look like you can't fit it in. But then when you start planning it into your week, if you've got too much, you have to take some of it out. So when you do start spiraling out of control, you just have to go back to your basics. When you felt good, like go back to when it felt good, when you felt in balance, write it all out, and then plan it again and go again. So I can get myself back into the state in a day. So it's really just going back to what you know works. It really does work. So pause.
No, no problem. I think right there, as you mentioned, right, getting yourself back in balance, uh, meditation, a breathing technique, some way to calm yourself and pick back up. I think that's phenomenal to hear you say, but I feel more comfortable to hear you say that you struggle with that challenge of sometimes getting so far out of sync that we become down on ourselves. And so I don't think there's any listener right now that's immune to getting down on themselves and having those challenges that like the mental hurdles that we come up with when we are out of sync and we are getting down on ourselves. Now, Marie, one of the challenges that I'm hearing here, or one of the challenges that come up with the balance method, is entrepreneurs and sales professionals are emotional when they get results that they want. We have high performing results. We feel good about ourselves. We feel like we're balance is in sync. When we don't have results, it's harder to keep balance. How did results impact your balancing, and how do you recommend someone to separate the two or combine the two, or what approach do you have for that?
Okay, so I made a decision a while ago, and it was one of the initial things that helped me find the balance. And that's where I know I mentioned it earlier, but it's where instead of looking at business as one area and personal as another, I put them together. So when I first start showing people, I go through the path that I started on where I separated them. But when we put it together, and now I think of it as one. So when I'm doing my have tos and want tos, they're combined. So if an area at work, like what you're saying, the rewards have to come, and how do I get myself up if they're down? Well, I focus more on the business if that's what's needed. So I take a little bit of time out of some of the other things, just put a bit more focus on the business. And I find in a small business in our franchise that wherever focus goes, energy flows. That's sort of something that I've noticed and do. So if I feel like the business is not producing where it should be, or we're not getting the results that we want, it just means I have to, like, we've always been in touch with what's happening in the stores and what's happening with other, because we're in a franchise, we look at what's happening with other franchises. So one of the first things that I do is I check to make sure, is it something that's in our control? Have I done something, or are all the franchises at the time going through something, and now the sales are going down? So I sort of monitor there. If it's something that it's just isolated to us, well, then I realise I've got a bit more work on my hands. Like I have to go in a bit more, have to focus a bit on our promotions, our staff, our customers, spend a bit more time doing what I know works, and that pretty much works every time. So same with family. If family, like you said, that you want to play in the pool or do something like that, if I can notice that the family is sort of pulling away, or I feel a little bit distant from them, I then plan a few activities, or something extra special. I make sure that it's wherever I'm feeling is out of balance, that I just put more focus. So yeah, I just, and I guess I if it's something and I notice that our figures are going up, at the same time, if I notice our figures are going up and others aren't going up, I take a hold of, okay, what is it that we've done that's been a bit special that's increased it? We've got to do more of that. So I'm continually looking and never really taken the focus off the business in 25 years, except for when my father was ill. That's the only time that we sort of haven't, every day the business is as much part of our life as what our family is.
And there's so much value you bring in there, right? You mentioned one of the things, right? You never took your foot or your focus off the business, right? And I understand the circumstances, and I lost my father a few years ago, and I remember experiencing that same thing where I lost focus on business during that time, and that's completely normal. But outside those times, when you're looking at your business on a daily basis, and those revenue metrics, those revenue numbers are so important, you do you ever add an extra part to your list? We talk about the have to do, want to do, but what if I'm looking at business? Is there something that trumps that? I must do this today. And when you come across something like that, how do you put that into your schedule? How do you put that into your ritual or your daily balance and then get back to normal? Does it just trump everything? Do you account for it? What does that look like for your business?
Yes, I do. I do have some have tos that have to happen on particular days. One of those that comes to mind straight away is like wages. I have to pay wages on a Thursday because our staff need their wages. So that becomes a have to that can't be changed. So when I plan my ideal week, all my have tos and want tos are listed throughout the week. And then every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is fill in my planner. And so if wages is a have to on that day, I put it in and I make sure that that happens. So I go through the have tos first. So it's one of the first things that gets done. So if there's something else that comes up or two things that sort of clash, you have to work out your priority. You can fit it all in, Anthony. It's just you just have to if let's say I've got so many things on my list for the day, and that used to overwhelm me because I could never finish it. So that was one of the things that I'd get to. I'd be crossing things off my list and getting to the end of the day, and I'd still have a list as maybe as big as I started with because I was adding it as we went. But that's not a concern of mine anymore because I've got listed the have tos. I've got my things I want to do. If something comes up a spur of the moment, so long as I've completed my have tos, I'll still go and do that thing. And then the next day when I do my plan, I'll just transfer it to that day. I don't hold on to it. I just know that if it doesn't get done that day, I'll move it. Now if it's a want to and it's not important, I'll just leave it. And when it comes to the day on my ideal week, I'll do it then. So I I hope that answered your
No,
question.
I think that definitely gives some perspective, right? I think one of the things here, Maria, I'm trying to pull from you here is
Yes.
you've been doing this for 25 years of entrepreneurship and running a business. So every every have to, every want to, super have to, must to, emergency to dos, you've experienced all of that. And so you took all of that, the lessons you've learned in life. We've created the book, Simple, Soulful, Successful. One of the things that you talk about here is rituals. What type of rituals do you have that you utilize for success in your business? And how can my audience listen to that and adapt to that in their business?
So I with my rituals, I have a list of probably over 100 now. So every time that something comes up that is either good for my business, good for myself, good for somebody else, or something that puts me in a good place, I add it to my rituals. So then every day when I'm doing my planner, I list out 10 rituals depending on the day. So I can choose rituals that take a bit longer or rituals that only take 5 minutes, just so long as I can get to 10. So I'll tell you what some of those rituals are in a
Yeah.
moment. But during the day, I work out when I'm looking at my day, I work out when I can fit those rituals in. And quite often I can do 4 or 5 of them before my day even commences. So I wake up early, and one of those might be to fill in my planner, to drink. In a day, I like to drink 8 glasses of water. I might do a meditation. So at the end of the day, before I go to bed, I check that I've done 10. And if I haven't, I quickly make sure that I finish them. So let's say I've got an hour worth of rituals that I haven't completed. Well, then I'll go to my list and think, okay, I'm too tired. I'm not going to get an hour's worth of rituals on, and I'll choose, 4 or 5 that only take 5 minutes, or even shorter, like reading a positive affirmation. That's one of my rituals. So it's the whole idea of 10 is really good, and it's for work as well. So one of my things in rituals is to be grateful for 3 people in your life every day. So I use that for my staff. I send them little messages and just say, look, I know I haven't told you for a while, but let's use Courtney for example. Courtney,
Mhm.
I'm really grateful for you working for us, and how you picked up that extra shift, or how you spoke to that customer. Just something that I've noticed that she's done, and that has the twofold effect. Like, she feels good that I've made her feel good, and I feel good that I've made her feel good. But also, when she steps into my workplace, it's a good place for her to be. And when your staff are there and they feel good, they're going to share that with what they do in their work. So uh, I combine them. So that's the positive affirmations. I read books. That's like read a little a book on something to do with the business. So if we're doing a promotion, I might pull out one of my books from my bookshelf that will help me focus on increasing sales in a particular area, depending on what the promotion is. Or if I'm doing work on teams, like I'll do a ritual that relates to teamwork. So my rituals change every day, but they're really, really important. They make me look forward to my days.
I think, Marie, you bring up a good point, though, right? I mean, we're starting our day in the morning. Now, do you start your rituals at the same time every morning? Do you have like a set time, like this is when I start my rituals, or is it just based on the needs of the business?
So I wake at between 5 and 6 every day, mostly 6 a.m. And I start my rituals. I have water next to my bed, and depending
Mm.
on what the business, depending on what's happening, like I said, I put my 2 together, business and personal. So I every day I sort of will start filling out my planner, and at that point I choose what rituals are going to suit the day that I'm having. So and whether I'm going into the shop and being with the customers, or whether I'm being at home working in the office, I plan things that can fit into the day that I've got ahead.
I like that. I empathize with that. I have a morning routine. I guess we can call it ritual, but I have this power hour every morning that is completely dedicated to Anthony time. I don't allow no business, no employee, anyone. This is my time, and I treat it with so much respect that if I want to read a book, that's when I read a book. If I want to wake up and I do this during a American football season. If I want to wake up and read the ESPN stories, that's my time. And my wife jokes at me, and my employees know this. I'm like, hey guys, this is my time, and I need this just so for the remaining 14 hours of the day that I'm functioning full speed at business, I'm zeroed in. I've already checked off things that I need to do, and so sometimes it goes through personal development, sometimes it goes through Christmas shopping, you name it. I've done it at those times. Hey, I wanted to take a quick minute and interrupt this episode for a second. I hope you're enjoying what you've heard thus far. Are you a sales professional, or do you manage a team of sales professionals? I imagine you know someone who struggles with complacency. I'm talking about the sales rep who has all the tools to be a top performer, but just can't seem to get past the mental hurdle that is holding them back. I completely understand, and I relate with you. That is why I've created a detailed approach on how to get out of this stage of complacency and put yourself in position to achieve your next sales goal. be sure to visit my website, catapultingcommissions.com. Once there, you can find the link to pick up a copy of my international best-selling book, Catapulting Commissions. Now, let's get back to our show. As we're looking here in this area of rituals, right? If someone is new to this and they don't fully set rituals or set this power hour or set these boundaries, is there a certain set of rituals you would recommend that someone start with? I know you mentioned you have 100, but you're the expert here. You've been doing this for a really long time, and you have the phenomenal book that outlines it. But let's say I'm brand new at this. Is there a certain set of rituals you'd recommend that I start with?
Well, there is. I actually have a download, Anthony, that has 10 rituals, and they're pretty simple. So one of the first ones is to be grateful for three things in your life or three people. Uh, a 5 to 30 minute meditation is the second one. A green smoothie, so long as you've got the ingredients for a green smoothie, it takes no time at all to do that. Then I have a breathing exercise, which you can Google lots of different breathing exercises. Uh, Drinking 8 glasses of water a day. So sort of like there's lots of different ways if you're starting off and you want to make sure that you drink 8 glasses of water. I know that sounds simple, but most people I speak to have this idea that they want to drink so much water, but they don't do it. So, you can start by having like little post-it tags on 8 cups or like cross off on your water bottle, like that, a little tally that you've, filled it up 8 times to make sure that you do it. Filling in your planner, so to make sure that you start your day off the best way, so that you fill that in to make that a ritual. Read a book, not a whole book, but read a chapter or a page or something in a book. And that's where, when you mentioned before about depending on the day that you're having, that's where pick a book that's going to inspire you for what you've got ahead for the day. A positive affirmation. Now that's really simple. I have that right next to my bed, and I can pick it up. I've got two. I've got one from John Maxwell, which is a business one. So I open that every day and read the affirmation for the day in business. But I've also got one that change a word to change your life, to change your world every day. So I read that. So just reading a quick positive affirmation. Also have a bounce, skip, and sit up. It's sort of like a little routine, I suppose, but I I went to a Tony Robbins conference a while ago, and he talked about having a mini tramp and how it rids your body of toxins. And so I thought I'll buy a little mini tramp and just pop it outside my bedroom door, which is, I've got a nice little piece of carpet down there, and it's there for a purpose. And I just come out every morning and I bounce 150 times. So with this, I just added my skipping rope. So I put my skipping rope next to it. So I'll come out, I'll bounce 150 times, pick up my skipping rope, and just skip until I get out, like until I mess up and can't like skip. So it's not a big routine. There's no pressure if I do 10 skips because I've tripped, or if I do 200 skips because I'm in a rhythm. It doesn't matter. I don't put pressure on myself. And then I've also got a little set of barbells where I just do some like little arm exercises. So that whole thing takes like less than 10 minutes. So then another one I've got is tell someone that you love them, like every day. It's really important to tell someone. People people know that that you love them, but there's something special in actually telling them. So that's 10 that I start with, and they're simple, and I just, yeah, I just love getting through them. So that I don't. When you said you have your power hour, that's sort of the same as what I do. But it sounds like we do the same thing. But I don't make it that it has to happen that in any particular order. And it sounds like you do the same thing. I just sort of wake up and as I'm planning my day, which is one of the first things that I do, if I feel like if I don't feel like bouncing today, I'll add something else instead, to that ritual and how I start the day. But it's always about learning. It's always something. That first hour is always something about improving my life, either my family, my personal, my business. It's an improvement time.
I like how you end that there. The improvement time. I look at some of the rituals you mentioned here. I mean, being grateful, 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, expressing you love someone, breathing exercises, water. I mean, it's a real fundamental principle that we talk about here on the Catapulting Commission show and in the book, that you have to take care of yourself first, right? You have to be clear of yourself. You have to be clear of any distractions to give your best performance for the day. And you run through these rituals. So if you're definitely listening, right now is where you want to go to marietremby.com. She has a download right there for 10 rituals that you can download. You can print out, you can take them with you, you can screenshot it. You can definitely have this, right? Because it's listening to an expert and not applying it is just as bad as not ever listening to the expert. And we definitely have the expert today with Marie Tremby. You will find that link in the show notes at Catapulting Commissions, with the Catapulting Commission show on iTunes, or whatever method you're listening to the podcast on. You will find that show notes. So Marie Tremby has just shared with us 10 of her rituals, and she offers a free download right now on her website. So you definitely want to go jump on that. Now, Marie, as you go through this journey here of simple, soulful, successful, I can't help but notice that you have taken this product, this book, and you've built an entire brand around it. And there's ways for people to get connected and learning more about simple, soulful. One of the things that sticks out to me is you talked about rituals that you have. And you've also mentioned that you have this structure of have to do and want to do. And it sounds like organization as a whole is one of your strong points. Entrepreneurs out there, sales professionals, we love to be organized, but sometimes we struggle in that area. What is one of these products that I'm looking at? I'm kind of teeing you up. Tell me about what I'm looking at here on your website, and how can my audience get connected with a solution to that problem?
Okay, so uh, I guess my book itself is, if if you're in that journey, at any level, like going into business for the first time, or you're reasonably new, or you've been in for a long time, there's steps in. I talk about my journey. I talk about the overwhelm time. I talk about secrets that we shared from the first day that we stepped into our business that have helped make us successful. I talk about when we go from one store to two stores, and I take you on a journey on some of the roadblocks that we had along the way, some of the things that could have thrown us off path, and we could have closed our doors, but how we managed as a couple to get through that. So, and then near the end, I talk about how I came across my rituals and how they changed, slowly were changing my life, and the more I understood them and implemented them in my life, the better my life was becoming in more ways, not in overall happiness, and I could see balance, and everybody was noticing. So I talk about how that first came into my life, and then I also talk about 10 throughout the whole book. I talk about 10 principles that I've lived that journey through, and so that features quite a bit in the book. So the book itself will be helpful, and a lot of people that have actually read it has said that it has definitely guided them. People that are in the franchise business is certainly given them some tips and tools. I've also I don't know if this is what you're after, Anthony, but I've also designed a planner. So along this path, I was purchasing everybody's planners and trying to get the perfect planner for organization and fitting in everything that I talk about. And so some of the planners that I got were fantastic, but they just weren't everything that I needed. They didn't fit everything in that I needed to fit in, including my rituals and including my gratefulness. And one of the things I haven't talked about is how I wake early every morning, as you know, and I try to go down. I live half a block from watching sunrise, and I live half a block from seeing sunset. So I try to fit both of those. I watch the times of when they're in, so I go down and do that. So I decided to make a planner that fits all of that in, so that it's got everything that is perfect for me for what I need in my life. So I had this planner that was almost there, and then I had all of my notes inside it, and I just kept adding to that. And then when the book came out and I realized it was helping so many people, I thought that I'd design my planner so that could help those people as well. So that's what I've done. And something else that I'm working on is a course on how to create more happiness and balance in 7 days. So that's not launched yet, but it's coming out, and I'm pretty excited about that. I've done a pilot of that, and a lot of people have reported success in their overall balance and happiness in just 7 days. So um, yeah, so that's sort of where I'm working on. It's a work in progress, Anthony. It's all just sort of coming together and taking time. But that's also one of the things that I talk about in the book, is that we all have the same amount of time. It's what we do with that time and how we focus and train our brain that's going to make the difference to how what we achieve.
Absolutely. I think you hit so many nuggets right there, Maria, and kudos to that, because we talk about the Catapulting Commission show that it's important that every week we bring entrepreneurs and sales professionals, and I tell the audience the goal is to take one or two nuggets from each guest, because everyone brings a different perspective or crosses a different route. And today we definitely dove into some of that. So I I like the planner concept because I know that I've purchased planners. Some have been great, some have been not so great. And so, you're always trying to make it match what you're teaching. And so it sounds like the Simple, Soulful, Successful planner is designed to go hand in hand with the Simple, Soulful, Successful book. So that is fantastic. And for those of you that heard, Marie is going to have a course coming soon on how to achieve that happiness and balance and breakthrough within just 7 days. And so if you want to get connected with that and learn more about it when it launches, be sure to get connected at marietremby.com. Marie, is there a social media site that you want my audience to look you up at or track you down?
Yes, I have my Facebook page at Marie Temby, Simple, Soulful, Successful. So I'm posting in that every day at the moment, so they can get connected to me there. I also have LinkedIn and Instagram, Snapchat. I've got them all, but I really sort of focus on my Facebook page.
Fantastic, Marie. MarieTemby.com and Marie Temby at Facebook. I will have that link in the show notes. You'll be able to find that on the show notes on your podcast player, or you can find that on the show notes under AnthonyPGarcia.com, where we host and hold all our episodes on Catapulting Commissions. Marie, I'm extremely honored and blessed that you would wake up this morning to spend some time with us on the Catapulting Commission show. I know that we are broadcasting from around the world. And before we finish, I just want to say I know that there is a COVID pandemic happening right now, and I wish you and your family to stay safe and successful during this time. Marie, do you have any last parting words for the audience of the Catapulting Commission show?
Just just enjoy life. Just be grateful for the things that we have in life, and try to notice what they are, and appreciate your friends and your families, and don't take on too much. Just take it slowly. Slow down.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you having me on the show. So it's been lovely.
Absolutely, Marie. The pleasure is all mine. Catapulting Commissions family, you just heard that right there. Marie Tremby. She has been a successful entrepreneur, a successful mother for the over the past 25 years. She has wrote an international best-selling book, Simple, Soulful, Successful. She has a planner that goes with Simple, Soulful, Successful, designed to bring your life in balance, rituals, and get the overall well-being and happiness, which as sales professionals, let's be honest here, guys, we all struggle with the complexities of being in a revenue producing industry. You have to produce revenue to generate commissions. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to get customers purchasing your products to generate income. And we all have those challenges. And Marie Tembly has created a phenomenal book, Simple, Soulful, Successful, international bestseller, available on Amazon. You'll find all the links in the show notes. That's what I got for you guys today. Thank you for joining the Catapulting Commissions show. Be sure to take a picture, use the hashtag Catapulting Commissions, and I will see you on the next episode. Well, that does it for today's episode on Catapulting Commissions with Anthony Garcia. If you found some value in today's show, please be sure to head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. Don't forget to subscribe to Catapulting Commissions. That way you get notified of new episodes every week. Lastly, please take a screenshot of today's show and share it on Instagram. Every week, I'll be giving away a signed copy of my best-selling book to one person who tags me at Anthony P. Garcia 99 and includes the hashtag Catapulting Commissions. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to helping you achieve higher commissions.